What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? NoZoupForYou here. And I'm playing aircraft carriers today. I know, right? Aircraft carriers. They've kind of been a hot topic lately. Actually, they're always a hot topic. They're always a contentious topic. They always divide the community, and I'm not going to attempt to divide the community. I don't want to. I really just want to showcase a very good game of ranked gameplay I had in a carrier, because I rarely play aircraft carriers, and for some reason I decided to, because I don't play them that often, and I do enjoy them every now and then. I don't hate aircraft carriers, not in the way some do. I don't love them in the way that others do. I just find that aircraft carriers are another class of ship in the game that have their pros and they have their cons. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the gameplay right here, but I'm also going to talk about carriers in general and some of the things going on right now. And, you know, I'm doing carrier things. In the beginning of the round, I'm spotting that destroyer. There's only one on the other team. So Mr. Lightning here, while I do have him spotted and did cause 2,000 damage, at this point, I'm not going to worry too much about him because he's headed in another direction, and if 6 other ships can't handle one destroyer, in my opinion, your team has some other issues that go beyond your aircraft carrier. So I'm just going to start getting to work, causing some damage, and doing aircraft carrier things with my Kaga. So, carriers have become a central focus in the community lately, I feel. There's been some videos about them, there's been some more ruminations that they don't belong in World of Warships, and that obviously sparks commentary about them, it sparks discussion, and I'm always of the opinion that discussion is a good thing in World of Warships, and among the community. It's always good to see the other side's reasons why they like or why they hate something. It's how we learn also, because when someone posts that they don't like something, usually someone will say, well, have you tried doing this? Have you tried doing that? Usually. Well, not even usually, sometimes. Sometimes it's just the requisite get good, or you're a below average player, you don't know what you're doing, which really isn't the case most times. So some players just generally need help in countering things. And I know carriers sometimes seem like there aren't a lot of ways to counter them. But just going off with the main overall theme, you know, do I believe aircraft carriers belong in the game? Yes, I do. I believe that aircraft carriers do have a place in this game. I mean, if you look at World War II, aircraft carriers had a larger effect on everything. Maybe the only other ship class that came close were destroyers, and that's mainly because destroyers were just such a silent, invisible threat. Aircraft carriers, not so much. You could spot planes in advance, though sometimes there wasn't much you could do about them. As I get to work on this Odin right here, swinging around for another drop, and you know, I had trouble in the beginning of this game deciding where to go, which is why you see me heading behind this island. It looked like my team was going to head towards C. They decided not to, and you know, once you get your carrier headed in one direction, sometimes it's hard to change, so I generally don't like staying put in an aircraft carrier, and I'm not going to for too long. I'm actually going to turn around and veer away, so it might look like I'm gonna sit behind this island, but that's only gonna be for a moment before the actual game dictates that I need to go in another direction. And I'm off to kind of a slow start here, and that's really how it happens sometimes in carriers, because you've got massed AA. You know, one ship's easy enough to handle, 2 can be a little hard. But going back on about the topic of aircraft carriers being in the game, yes, I think they deserve to be in the game. They should be in the game. I know a lot of people have different views on that. And I think the main reason why people don't want aircraft carriers in the game is just because of the effect that they sometimes have on a single ship. And I admit, it can be very tough. Trust me, I know. I play enough high-tier destroyers, I play enough tier 10 destroyers, that I know if you're one of those destroyers that does not have good anti-aircraft capability, if an aircraft carrier decides to pick on you, to choose you, if they want you dead, chances are they can make you dead. And I think that's a lot of the interaction that causes players to not want aircraft carriers in the game. And I get that completely, because there's been times where even myself, I've been like, back when Enterprise was even, not the Enterprise, Midway was even better than it was at just dropping on destroyers and making their lives miserable. Back then with the bombs, I was just like, I hate these things. I don't want them here. I don't want them anywhere near me. This is ruining my fun. This is ruining my ability to do anything. But, of course, the counter to that is you need to learn to counter it. And I evolved my game style in certain situations when there are aircraft carriers and a destroyer. And it's up to your team also to understand that you're not going to be able to do the things that you normally do if you're in a destroyer, if there's an aircraft carrier present. You're not going to be able to go into cap right away and cap right off the bat. Or if you do, you need to expect to be out in the forefront and spotted. And you're probably going to have to smoke up pretty quickly, and you're really going to have to alter your gameplay. The other side to that is another way to look at it, and this is kind of painting a rosy picture on things, rose-tinted glasses. And here I decided to go after that lightning. He was off on his own, he was spotted, and I'm like, hey, why not? He's low health, might as well make his life miserable and take him out of the round once and for all so my team can focus on other things. So I'm just going to circle around and put him out of his misery. He was low health, so he's going out anyways. Keep him spotted, drop those fighters, and just make sure my team takes care of him. And I actually get the kill on him right here on this pass. So yay me, doing carrier things. Spotting the destroyer, taking him out. Though I countered, he really wasn't a threat. So the other thing about being that one ship singled out by an aircraft carrier is you got to look at it this way. If that aircraft carrier is so intent on destroying you that he's focusing all his fighters and planes, and if it takes him 2, 3, 4, even 5 minutes to do it, if not longer, that's time that he could be doing other meaningful things to help his own team that he's not doing. That's damage he's not causing on other ships. That's the ability to reroute other ships and force them to go in other directions. He's not doing that, because that's one thing that aircraft carriers do have the capability to do. A good aircraft carrier player can really change the flow of battle based on who he's attacking and when. And that's a pretty good job right there. I'm somewhat pleased with myself. I'm going to go around for a second pass, go after this Bismarck. Now I am running into problems, and that's why I've kind of changed my direction. And I'm like, okay, I got to get out of here, because these two battleships seem intent on heading my direction. And the fact that the enemy aircraft carrier is detecting me and getting me spotted means that the other ships can too. And there's another flood right there. That flood is going to stick. Yay me again. I'm actually feeling pretty good in this carrier round. So, yes, it sucks being harassed by an aircraft carrier. But in a random battle, honestly, it's just bad luck. I mean, you've got 11 other teammates. If an aircraft carrier decides to single you out, that means he's leaving 11 other ships alone. So you basically have a 1 in 12 chance of getting singled out by an aircraft carrier continually. Of course, those odds are greater if, you're a destroyer. And I'm going to try and finish this Bismarck off right here. He's low health. He's sitting still. And that's going to do it for him. We're still losing. Things aren't looking good. They're looking a little better, though. And I gotta say, I'm slowly, myself, starting to turn the tide of things. Another thing is, I think a lot of players have short memories, or at least forget how things were back in the day. Back in the day, CVs were just as hated as they are now by some players. And honestly, one of the reasons I don't mind them so much right now is back in the day, a very good aircraft carrier player could take out a Yamato in one pass. I mean, if you have never been cross-dropped by an aircraft carrier, hammer and anviled, you have not really experienced aircraft carriers in their heyday or at their worst. I still have not been dev-struck by an aircraft carrier in one pass since the rework. And for that matter, you know, mission accomplished right there. I can put up with just about anything at this point because of that. I mean, before, yeah, it sucked. It sucked bad. But now, if I'm in a battleship and an aircraft carrier drops on me, sometimes I won't even get out of the way if it's torpedoes. Because I know I'm going to eat 2, 3, maybe 6,000 damage. But if I were to move, maybe I would get blapped by something else. Or eat a lot more damage as I slowly start whittling away at this Odin because he is dangerously close to me and I don't want any part of that. Especially since I've started changing directions, and we're now heading in the same direction, so I'm going to focus everything I can on him. We're losing pretty significantly right now. Things aren't looking good. If I was dead on my team, I'd be chalking this up as a loss right now. But I'm not going to let that happen. I'm just not. Which brings us to our next point. The whole reason for the carrier rework, and I think a lot of people don't realize this, and that was a pretty good drop right there. A lot of people don't realize the reason for that was just the imbalance. And by imbalance, I mean when a good carrier player faces a bad carrier player. A good carrier player back then, back before the rework, had the ability to literally one-handedly control the battle. And I posit at this point that that is not the case. Yes, a good aircraft carrier player is going to have a big influence. But I don't think he's going to have any more influence than a good battleship player or a Unicum destroyer player. I just don't. Not in the way, at least, that they used to be able to. I mean, a good aircraft carrier player back in the day, a good CV player back before the rework, just literally could do anything they wanted and decimate the enemy team. So fortunately, the balance has been restored a little bit. This round, I would say, is a bad example for that, because I've been able to make a pretty big impact while the other aircraft carrier, not so much. So admittedly, this isn't a good example, but to that fact, in ranked gameplay, a good destroyer player is going to be able to affect things just as much. I mean, a lot of players argue that there's no counter to aircraft carriers. However, a good destroyer player, there's really no counter to as well. I mean, if a destroyer player wants to stay hidden, wants to stay unspotted, so long as there's no CVs in the round, they can. They can remain hidden the entire round if they want to. If they know how to avoid radar, they can remain hidden. If they have torpedoes that go over 10 kilometers and they don't have to break concealment to fire them, they can remain hidden as long as they want, if they're a good destroyer player. And they're going to have just as big an effect as a carrier is, because they're going to be able to spot, granted not necessarily perma-spot, drop fighters, and I know that's another argument. And here's the other carrier. He has come into view right here. We are still behind, but hey, look at that. We've got more ships now, and Lexington's about to go down here right now. So he actually did what an aircraft carrier should. He pushed. Me, not so much. I kind of stayed in the back and focused on other things. Maybe a little timidity. There's the high caliber. Quite pleased with that. This Lexington is not long for the world right now. We are on the verge of winning this thing, and I can't believe it. So, yes, I understand why some people don't like aircraft carriers. And I will admit, and there's Mad Dog, holy shit, we won! I know, crazy. Did not see that coming. And I'll admit, you know, carriers are not perfect right now. There's still balancing issues, definitely, no doubt. But there's other ships that have balancing issues, so it's no different. And right now I'm just trying to help my team take this Massachusetts out. We're going to do it soon. There's the prerequisite good game. And that is the biggest compliment. I think I'm most proud of that. Good game, Red CV. I don't think I've ever been complimented in a CV. So I'm proud of this CV game. I know it's probably not as good as most players, but I am happy about it. So yes, carriers are not perfect, but I think we over-exaggerate how bad they are. And I'll openly admit there should never be 2 CVs in a game. Never, ever. I don't think so. Especially in low tiers where AA is not as good. But You know, that's not here nor there. So I urge players, maybe just a little calm. You know, I know it's easy to hate CVs, but when you look at things, they're sometimes not as bad as we make them out to be. They're really not. And I think it's really the 1v1 interactions that are the most annoying. And it's really just destroyers. And that's going to do that right there. Still, I'm very proud of this game. Very proud. And I know a lot of you enjoy carriers. Just as many probably enjoy them as hate them. That's just the way it is with this game. So, anyhow, those are my thoughts. Interested in yours, let me know. I am proud of this round, and I know a lot of you have rounds that you're proud of and carriers as well, and in other ships. Anyhow, hope you all are doing wonderful. I'll catch you all later. Take it easy. Zoop out.